Hi, folks. How are you all? Sorry, people are joining us as we go there.
Good.
How's things with you all? Sorry, you're very welcome to our second session, looking at I suppose, the kind of community heritage and getting people out and active. And the idea behind this was to get people, when they're in their 5K limits and you're out for a walk, to maybe you would notice things or be able to do a little bit of research then if you notice a building that's unusual or as
How did you
Caroline
say
was
I'd
explaining
block
to me.
off my microphone on the Zoom?
Sorry, Fergus, I'll turn it off for you. Right, and so it's all of those kind of things. When you're out and about spotting it, maybe there's a local story or a story from your own family that you've kind of researched, and it doesn't have to be in the last few weeks. It can be anything of kind of interest that you would be interested in sharing with everybody else. So look, I'd like to thank Caroline for coming along to join us again and for kind of leading on this project. So look, these are all very welcome. It's going to be recorded. We'll make the recording available to all of you afterwards, just so that if there's websites mentioned or anything in particular, that you get access to that information. But yeah, Caroline, I'll hand over to yourself.
Great. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Good to see you all. Thanks. And it's such a beautiful, great morning out there, isn't it? I hope you're all going out for a wee walk before the snow comes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good morning, blow away the cobwebs. So I don't know how many of you may have seen the last presentation or maybe seen it before. So just to give you a recap, as John said, of what we're trying to do. So when you're out on your 5K, that's what Uncover and Rediscover. It's called Uncover and Rediscover because we want you to have a look. You probably in normal everyday lives we're probably too busy passing things and driving past something that we never noticed. But now we can get out a chance to go out walking, we can have a good proper nosy of what's around us. And we have secured funding through Under Healthy Ireland to produce, unfortunately it's a small booklet and we're under serious time constraint. We need your contributions. And I'll run through a quick slideshow and then I'll tell you how we would want your submission. We're not looking for anything academic. We're not looking for anything, major historical research. We're just looking for the miscellaneous. We call material and stories and articles that maybe wouldn't fit normally into some history publication or some local annual, or might not fit normal publication. So like a little miscellaneous items, and we're looking for anything and everything. So I'll just share my screen with a minute now to show you, and we'll run to the kind of things that we were talking about. Let me see, share screen. Where is this one? Okay, let me just, can you all see that?
Yeah.
So we're on this called Uncover and Rediscover Your Locality, because that's what we want you to find out and notice things. Or it doesn't mean when you're out walking as well. It means when you're tidying those drawers in the house you never had a chance to tidy, or the back of the cupboard, or those presses that and tin boxes that you never saw the light of day for years that you're having a wee look through now when you've got the opportunity to. So we want to know what you've rediscovered. So it could be anything. This is Office and Post over in Ranafast. You could be walking past buildings that had previous uses. You might have been in a local shop when you were growing up and it now closed. It could be the local sweet shop. It could be like a post office, which unfortunately a lot of them have closed. It could be a building that was in use, a different use than what it currently is. So maybe you might have discovered something like that, or you might have. This is an old postcard, so you might have an old postcard in the drawer, and you weren't too sure where the location is because the outside the building has currently changed. So then we all have these photographs lying in the back of in the boxes or up in frames. And what we'd love you to do is maybe you've discovered actually who's actually in the photographs, because what we find is that as time goes on, and you get not as often nowadays getting your photographs or your digital photographs printed, is who's in the photograph, but the next generation won't have a clue.
Exactly.
And we want you might have found a photograph and you might have done a wee bit of research, or you might actually sat and wrote down who's on the back of the photograph. So when somebody in the next generation is picking it up, they actually know who their relatives are, or who their neighbours, or what the occasion is even, because it's so easy to forget. and as time moves on. So then, look, this is a fantastic photograph here. This is a photograph taken in the 1920s over in Gidore, Milton, in a factory. So the names were actually put on this, because when you start looking, they actually look very similar. The girls are all, the similar style and dresses, and they all look alike. So then you can see all the different names like Biddy, Ruhr, Shannon, Hughie, so then you have back a few more generations of who their parent and grandparent was. So this is what we're looking for. Maybe submit a photograph with of your relatives named in it, maybe a wedding photograph, maybe a work photograph, anything and everything we're looking for.
Thank you.
So then, you're passing, maybe you're on your 5K, you might be passing local graveyards, and you might never have gone into one or wandered around to have a little look. And my favorite one is down the road where we have, I'd say he's probably the oldest man in Ireland, who's 117 buried in the graveyard. And he's documented, it's in the museum, we have his funeral card, and he's documented as being 117 years old. And I'd say he's buried in the Presbyterian burial ground. So I'd say the date is quite correct. He's 117. So that would make him probably the oldest man in Ireland of all things. Yes, Pepper, sorry. And if you hear a dog barking, he's sitting down here ready to pounce. Postman's away, but God knows who else will arrive in the meantime. So then this is the Church of Ireland graveyard over in Stranraer as well. So maybe, you might be your 5K, maybe you might go in and wander around graveyards, but I always wander around. You never know what, who or what the unusual things, gravestones or dates, or when you're looking for your genealogy, you never know what you could discover or uncover as well. And maybe you might have discovered something about the church or the chapel. Maybe one of your relatives got married there. Maybe maybe somebody was baptized there. So anything and everything like that. Or maybe you have a birth or baptismal cert at home, and you might be able to find a picture of the church and tell a story for us.
I found that the last day when I was digging through the church.
So then this is a lovely gentleman we had, John McDermott, who unfortunately passed away there earlier on this year. And John was a great personal friend of ours and a fantastic friend of the museum. Some of you may know John. John used to sell for years around at Kenny the cancer tickets, but John was an extraordinary man. John was extraordinarily well read. He should have been historian really. And he, for years, gosh, must be maybe 20, 25 years, John went around the county taking photographs of all different sites, from archaeology to vernacular architecture to anything, just things that random snaps for us of all different sites. And we're so lucky to have a huge collection of John's images. And some of the buildings are gone, some are changed, some sites unfortunately are gone, or they've you no longer have access to them. So this is the kind of thing John helped us out with. And this is the kind of thing maybe you have at home, random snaps and random things when you're around the county, when you were allowed to go around the county visiting, or around your 5K, you might have some archaeological sites in your area. And maybe take a photograph for us, because we might not have a current up-to-date one of it. So then on the back of the drawer too, in the press, we always had random newspaper clippings. You clip things out that maybe have been in interest, or maybe you wanted to send to somebody, or maybe you needed the address, or maybe you needed the phone number. And this is a random one from John Murray down in Ballyshannon, who's very good. He's sharpened the scissors and hairdressing. So this is down in, look, he's one of the largest hairdressing establishments in the west of Ireland as well. And I don't know whether that building is still there. And I don't know whether is somebody still hairdressing it or not. So then like you have food prices. This is a random food price, Foodland. And you can see this is in, I think, 1960s. This somebody obviously kept this newspaper clipping for some reason. They're looking for maybe giant shampoo or large tins of peas, or there was a good deal on I see there's a good deal on biscuits too for 1 shilling and 11 pence that week. So there's anything and everything. There's the TV listings. Well, we were very lucky in Donegal. We had the BBC channels, but otherwise you were stuck with Telefish Éireann. And you can see the excitement of it. Well, it must have been during June, was it? Wimbledon was on. Mm-hmm. And then you had everything. Batman was on too, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. So all the ones we recognize, I Do Move Genie and Mission Impossible, the original. So there's some good things on you could watch. So this just things like this, and it tells a snapshot of history of that time and our social history, what was happening on TV, and some classic picture or programs now. So then this is some local history. This is the kind of thing we're looking for. This is tell you who this is, the forge, and it tells you who the white horse belongs to, and who the blacksmith was putting on a new pair of shoes, the forge next to the swilly, and give us the location of where it was. So this is the kind of thing we're really, really interested in. Just little snippets of time gone by and little snippets of your locality as well that may not be so obvious to anybody passing today. So then the Niles here, your what do you call it? Your railway heritage. And unfortunately, we're severely lacking our rail network. But you see, it was quite very extensive, huge extent, one the largest in our gauge in length in Ireland at one stage. And you can see all the stops and halts all over our county. And we maybe, if you're passing someone for a railway heritage or remnants of railway heritage, maybe take a photograph of that and maybe tell us a story of that. Or maybe if you have remembered being on the train or hearing stories off the train when you're away, it'd be fantastic. And maybe, like I say, in Letterkenny, most people don't realise the bus station is the CDR train station. If you go around outside out the front of it, you can see it was established in 1906. And when you go inside and look up, you can see the remnants of the beautiful ironwork that held up the station roof. Fabulous stuff. And people don't realise at all that the trains, and we had 2 train stations side by side in Letterkenny, which is extraordinary. And the beautiful curved one in Stranraer, which no longer exists, the HQ of CDR. So then, look, you could be out and you could come across, we're looking about your biodiversity as well, like big buzzword at the minute. Like, you know, is there something unusual growing in your locality? Is the gorse out? You know, we know the gorse is out early, like, or it's out all year round in Donegal because of our temperate climate. And we're very lucky. And, you know, is there an unusual tree in your locality? Is there a huge tall tree that's been there for centuries? Is there something unusual growing in your locality? Or is there primroses out early? Or is there things out, you know, like, you know, we're going to have the snow, we're going, you know, things out so much, you know, months earlier than normal. And it's not, we know, we hear always about the climate change, but we see different occurrences of plants blooming very early over the last century, all different times. So anything and everything we're looking for. So then we walk around the town, and I just stepped down to Timey Lace, and all of a sudden notice this little piece, and it said P&T. A lot of people wouldn't realise what P&T was. And, you know, post and telegraphs, precursor to kind of telecom airing. So that's still in place in Letterkenny, obviously, where the P&T line or the box was, just on the Port Road on Letterkenny. So that was still there. And then this is in Dunfanaghy. They've re-electrificated the and put back the beautiful light that stood on the plinth that was missing for a long, long time. So it was one of the, it's not the first in Ireland, and I don't think it was the first in Donegal, but it was the first, one of the first electric lights when it was turned on in Dunfanaghy all those many years ago. It's a pretty fabulous looking thing now. So they're restored and stuff like that. So it's been put back onto the plinth. So how do you submit? So we'll send you out an email, or we'll post out to you, or it'll be online for you to look at. So what we need is, the date of your sending it in, and author, which is who wrote it. Maybe you wrote it yourself, maybe a couple of you might have gone together and wrote it. Your address, we can contact you, and then your contact details, either your phone or email, the title or the caption to go with your piece. And because we're trying to get we're kind of limited, unfortunately, limited in size. We'd love to make a huge giant publication, and hopefully we've started something that will create a series of them eventually. So all we need is a maximum number of words is 175 words, and with 2 images associated with that. So we want to submit it as a Word document or written out in lovely handwriting, much better than my own one. It's very similar to a doctor's handwriting in shorthand. And then, or else you don't have to write anything. You can just send us pictures, and you can send between 1 and 4 images, and they can just make sure there's captions on the back. We'd love to be submitted as digital or digitized, but if that's not the case, we can arrange to get them. We'll get them scanned or photographed, and we'll have the original back. And we just want to make sure that they're saved as scanned at a good quality, like 300 MBs, or but no larger than 10 MBs, because they won't come into us. They won't email into us. They'll be blocked. And then we have to make sure that the article you're writing is, you know, if you're using somebody else's material, or you've discovered something, you can just put a wee line saying this is from whatever book or this person on it. And we also ask you not to submit any images which you don't have permission to use, just in case there's people in it that they don't want their images used, or maybe you've just, you know, just ask. We just want to know, because we don't want to print something and then somebody comes back to saying, well, that's actually mine, or you printed it asking me. So that's what we have to mind. And then we don't take any, fortunately, this is a disclaimer, of course, we don't take any responsibility for any content. Just in case, you never know, we don't really want to hear what the neighbours have been up to, or any too much scandal without any, or too much bad scandal. You can have good scandal, but and just for the factual accuracy, we won't really change anything, apart from maybe if it's the spelling is very obvious, or maybe slight grammar change and things like that. But any submissions like that, we don't normally, we publish them as is. So then you can see it is very short date, because to get this funding, it was short notice, and we have to have a physical booklet printed by the middle of March, and it takes you have to put the booklet together, and it takes a long number of days, and actually it takes about 10 working days to get it back from the printers as well. So we're have you fortunately under slight pressure, but we're asking for you, please share your submissions with us. We'd love to see your articles or images in print. And we're looking, as I'm saying, we're looking for the mundane, we're looking for everyday ordinary, and it doesn't have to be academic, and it also, you know, just because you might think somebody might not be interested, you'd be surprised what people are interested in. So please send them in to us. We'd be just delighted to give you an opportunity to see your work, or your article, or your image in print as well. So and we'll be doing a digital copy as well, and we'll be doing hard copies to give to you too, as well, right the way. So that's roughly what we're looking for. And so has anybody any questions, or any what do you call it, any fears, or any worries, or any suggestions, or any questions, anything you need to know, ask me now. You want to
jump in there, Caroline, just to say, it is, I suppose this is an opportunity for us, I suppose, to get our own family stories and our own kind of local stories, and those kind of local things that are probably only known to the people that live there, or that very small circle. You know, to get it in, it'll become a council publication. It'll be, you know, something that is there, that is kind of part of the archive of the museum, and it will, I suppose, protect that for future generations. You know, somebody will Google, or whatever the version of Google will be at some point in the future, and you know, they might stumble across this and go, well, geez, you know, there's Mary McGowan put in a story that I'm now able to access and kind of relate to and stuff like that. And it's just a lovely kind of idea to have that held. We'll also hopefully be including materials around this sort of project, and the sources, and where you go to find out more about your community heritage. And so it'll act like a guide for people maybe coming to these sessions as we run them in other years, and we do kind of work like that. So no, I know I've been kind of frantically searching for stuff to put in myself. So hopefully I'll have something. I don't know if it'll be of interest, but I'll have something for you, Caroline. And
well, this is the book here that you can expect from. It's called Donegal, A Chronicle of the 20th Century. And this is the kind of thing, it's completely random. There's anything from Pat McGill, poet set sail in China, somebody born in locality, Donegal by-election, turf was cut late one year, big freeze, somebody got a haircut, somebody went to mass, there was there was a sea rescue, there was nice weather, there was operations over in Kerrytown, and there was any a daring rescue. There was somebody down, the gathering the kelp or the seaweed, the sea rods, making poteen or poteen still discovered, or there was the ballroom romance that was opening up at a certain time, and it what do you call it? There's Sleeve Foy dance band with my own uncle in it. Things, random things to come across, like, or somebody met at a dance and got married there. So anything and everything we're looking for. So that's, don't worry what it is. We would love to see it.
That's it, and it is, and like a lot of the resources and stuff like that were in the first session that was delivered. A lot of the websites that you can look at to maybe investigate, are the stones that are in the field across the road registered, and find out a little bit more about them. And I know I've used it a few times over this past few weeks, just to, when you're out for a walk with the kids and they ask you what that is, rather than just making something up, I've actually gone to the effort of trying to figure out what something is, and just equally checking, is it actually on the system? We notice things as we walk by, and like you and the P&T sign there in Letterkenny, Caroline, is that actually recorded somewhere? Or if some builder decided to do some work in that field, would it just all disappear? And it's just having that, I suppose, having it recorded. So it is very much open to any sort of submission. Put in the picture of the individual, and the little caption to go with it, the story, the local story, the family story, just to have that sort of information in there. So I'm really looking forward to reading what comes through, and I'm sure you are as well, Caroline.
It's even like your COVID story, like this is the route I took on my 5K. This is where I go down, whatever, and this is or your COVID. Maybe unfortunately that you might be at home working, or maybe you're not working at the moment, or tell us your story, because this is history. That's how quick history happens, and every second that goes by is history. So don't worry about it. History's not that far back. It's only that a second ago. So it is. So that's how fast history happens. So everything is important. Maybe you went to a wedding there. Maybe there was only so many people, allowed at the, wedding, a very, unusual wedding, like, maybe unfortunately you had to attend a funeral, or weren't able to attend a funeral. We're collecting a COVID collection, like, and we received all different items, everything from around the county. People, John said, like, people are knitting things. People are sending samples of what they've been knitting or they've been crocheting. Maybe you've rediscovered cooking. Maybe you found an old recipe book at home, like my own mummy's one written in a copybook. Maybe you've tried something now and it's a family favorite. You tell us, it doesn't have to be just on your 5K walk. It could be at home. What is happening at your home? Maybe you've made a new tradition at home. Maybe you all sit down at a certain time. Maybe you all have very happy to stay in different rooms, which might be much easier in some houses. Or maybe, you've discovered a new skill, or, you've made something, or you've created something, show us, tell us. And this is all part of our county's heritage.
Yeah,
Look, it doesn't have to be, 50 years ago, 100 years. It can be just yesterday. It can be last week. It can be last month, last year. That's it. That's our county's heritage.
And I know, looking around this screen, that there's several people here who have volunteered over COVID to help their community, and the likes of those stories.
That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. Don't be worrying if you can't say, "Oh God, I can't find this." Tell us your stories. Tell us what you've been up to as well, and become part of our county's heritage. Tell us your story. Let us record your stories. It'd be fascinating.
I suppose, can we throw it open there? I suppose, does anybody have any suggestions or stories or thoughts or questions or anything we could help with, or just, tell us a joke or something interesting?
Oh, he's not.
Sorry. Are you trying to come in there, Pat, or?
I am. And
Yeah.
the interesting part for me is I'm from Mayo and Oatfield Sweets. And like, because I'm coming the other way, Caroline, as in I'm coming in, and that Oatfield Sweets were a value, they were a currency growing up. And honest to God, from national school, secondary school, boarding schools, and then going on to America, to New York. The things, I'm sure anybody that's in the 80s that went off to America, eat Oatfield Sweets, Kerrygold butter for some reason, and tea bags.
Of
They're the
course.
things. They're the
Absolutely.
things.
Potato crisps.
And
Yeah,
they're
I
the
do
things
mention-
I send to my sister in Germany every so often anyway. Still, it still happens. Like you still
Yeah.
send off all the stuff you're missing from home. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's available. If that's any good to you, Caroline.
Yeah, no, that would be fantastic, Pat.
yeah, anything, Pat, that would be fantastic story because that's part of our story and your story. That's the main thing too, your story.
In terms of ourselves growing up, what was in Letterkenny? Because Letterkenny was sort of, and my uncle was a guard here, but Letterkenny was a nothing except Oatfield Sweets. Everybody knew that Oatfield Sweets came from Letterkenny.
Yeah, Oatfield.
And no other, that's you see the tourism slant that you ask anybody in Mayo, my age, that grew up in the 80s, they would know Oatfield Sweets.
Of course, it's synonymous name of Letterkenny, like an extraordinary name around the world. And we did a big major exhibition on Oatfields and got access to everything in the factory. And it's extraordinary where the stories, letters thing go back, where Oatfield Sweets travelled around to the strangest part of the world. Oatfield Sweets were sold in. And they were
Yeah.
they had kosher, they were kosher as well. And then like my sister is and her husband's from southern Italy, and they're down in a wee tiny village up in the mountains in a wee tiny wee shop, and there's Oatfield Sweets being sold.
Yeah.
You know, straight. And then I was in Morocco one time, and there's Oatfield Sweets being sold with the local wrappers on them. Extraordinary what you find. So this, and like you're saying, like over in Gweedore, Sam Spuds as well. Getting the box of Sam Spuds crisps at Christmas time was a big treat as well for everybody. And then so that anything, everything goes. We want to make it as interesting and as varied as possible. Nothing's off limits apart from no scandal or whatever. Nothing that's scandal, slander, and what else? That accusations of murder and like that. But anyway,
We might not publish it, but we want to know.
oh, they didn't know. Like that doesn't mean you can't send it to us, but doesn't mean we'll send it, publish it. Like
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. Mary, anything about Donegal town that you would consider including for us?
Well, I was just thinking there, and I don't actually walk 5Ks every day. It's a bit shorter than the 5Ks. But myself and the dog take a wee walk. But I am beside the old railway line, and there's a very nice cut stone bridge just over the Esk, just down below me, on part of my walk. And I was thinking it's one of the things that I might take a picture of, because it was all grown over until a couple of years ago, when a local scheme cut away all the overgrowth from it, and you can actually see it now. And, just things like that, because it's very close to where the railway station would have been in Donegal town now, where the Railway Heritage Centre is.
right.
And I know there is, now I know very little about this. It's my children would have talked about it when they were young. There was a fort on the top of a hill quite close by too, but since this is not my native area, and that I wasn't born here, I was born a few miles up the road, but my children went to school here, and they would have gone out on walking tours from school to look at historic sites and that sort of thing. We all know, of course, about the castle and about all those big things, but the little things they were looking at, and they used to visit the fort quite often when the younger children, and they would have known about it. Now, I don't really know anything about it, bar knowing where it is. But I was thinking about Ballyshannon, and you were talking about Letterkenny having 2 railway stations. Ballyshannon had the same.
2 separate, yeah.
Yeah, there was the CDR railway station, and then there was the one where coming in from the north, and if you wanted to continue your journey, you had to get off the train at one end of the town and walk to the other end to get to get your connection. but then you could go right up through the north, and that would have brought you through Pettigo and up through the north and into Dublin eventually.
That's fantastic. Was that the fancy GNR? Were they fancier trains, weren't they?
I think they might have been.
More luxurious, I think, were they?
Guys, Niall here. So I was going to say to Mary, I actually came across that bridge recently, and I could not get over this sort of infrastructure, in spite of the railways closing over 6 years around Donegal or across the county. And in fact, there are lots of wee interest stories. It's amazing, you know, there are bridges and there are cranes and there is bits of infrastructure still there. I know from events in the past, there certainly is a big connection. Nearly everybody in Donegal seems to have had a relation that worked on the trains or went to school in the trains or went to Dublin in the trains. And that sort of stuff certainly has to be collected, and that's certainly very exciting. Karen, I was going to say too, what we could do at the Railway Museum is we can put this back up again to kind of share it, because we do have a big engagement and trying to, because there are people right across the county that have lots of wee interesting stories that they could you know, do something on. So if you're okay with that, we'll do that and send it around, because I think there's a great opportunity there, you know, and to record these and have them in the book for future generations.
Yeah, we just they're varied. Yeah, anything and everything is great. So that, like, it's a story somebody has, maybe they've nobody to tell it to, or it's not being recorded anywhere. So that's the main thing to do, is to record it.
Yeah, that's all great.
Yeah.
Great, fantastic. Thanks a million, Ned.
Is anybody else got any, I suppose, thoughts or suggestions or any kind of stories just to, I suppose, inspire the rest of us? Rosemary, I see there from Public Hill and Falcara, there must be plenty of stories coming out through the likes of Incoming Carges. And when I spotted you, I was thinking of Manus and the space station. But
of course,
yeah. And also beside where I live, Caroline, there's a couple of houses, and they used to be shops. That used to happen a lot, little local shops.
That's what I mean. Like, people are going by them and they don't realize what they were used for, or what the story behind, or the what do you call it, the fascinating history of buildings that no longer they're either derelict now, or they're don't look what they look like 20 years ago even. Fantastic. And then you had the grotto, like there's grottos around grottos around the county, and a lot of people don't know the story of the grottos, or who put them up, or why were they there, or what's the story of them. Or there's not just holy wells, but ordinary wells for people. Where did you go and get your water? Where did you go and get the milk? We used to go over to get the milk over to McGee's with I'd say it was an Oakfield sweet. We used stainless steel what do you call it, a jar with the lid on it, to go and get the milk before we have milkmans now, or going to the shop to get it. So things like that, like, what did you do? Like, where did you go and get the water? Where did you go to the well? Where did you, even if I came across the last day, I was just looking for the blue bags, the blue for, just great drying the line now, and it's lovely and frosty, is making the lovely sheets, lovely and white, using blue, the Reckitt's blue.
Yeah.
Things like that, like. People don't know what they are now, and you can't get them. They can't. So little things like that too, or even old cures, or old pedigree, or old sayings, or things like that, or things you say in your house that people have come in to look at you to say, what does that mean? Or I don't understand that. Or your way you say something, or way you pronounce something, or it's different to somebody else's house. It's like, as well, or like that are in our house, it's like donkey or shade or orish and things like that. So people are always laughing at.
No, sorry, that isn't for publication in this, but there's an uncle of mine moved to Scotland, and they called their daughter Rachel, but they discovered after they picked the name that he couldn't say it. Whatever, we just couldn't. So they had to change her name to Raquel. No, maybe it was Raquel and they changed it to Rachel. I'm trying to remember now, but yeah, now obviously we're not going to embarrass them by putting that out there, but it is, it's all local history, and that's definitely something every time we hear the name that we think of, Or
maybe you weren't allowed to, being baptized years ago, maybe you weren't allowed to call your child a certain name.
Had to be a saint.
Maybe the local priest said no to you, like, you're not allowed to, you're not. Or maybe, like in our house, my sisters, all their names were never their first names, their official names. They were called by their middle names. So maybe, you know, are you called after your granny or called after whoever, or was there a row in the house, like, and now you're ended up with a completely different name.
Yeah.
Things like that, like,
So
or were
we-
you born the year of somebody or other, Pius, or, you know, or Eugenie, your day, or whatever, the Pope, and, you know, things like that. Were you named after somebody? Were you named after somebody in the house? Were you named after an uncle or an aunt, or were you named after somebody else too? And it just with little snippets like that to make things very interesting. It does.
Loads of different languages in Donegal.
Sorry, Pat.
Yeah, there's loads. When I come up here, there's loads of different dialects in Donegal. And I couldn't understand the Gweedore one. And see, the most difficult one to understand was the Carrigans, Raphoe, and St. Johnson. I hadn't a clue what they were saying. And as in, I didn't, they were saying something, but it wasn't.
You need to read. You need to be like us and got the Sunday Post every week, and then you can read. You can read Ulster Scots really easily when you read the Bruins in our Willie. So, yeah, easy way to do it.
But that's unique. I think it's like I can't up here that it's a matter of being multilingual, trying to figure out what people are saying. Things like yes sir and Raphoe, I didn't clue what that was. Yes sir.
Very true. Very true. Is there anybody else would have an idea for? Is there a story? I see Hannah's there. Obadar, you could come in and talk of the volunteering and stuff that you've done over COVID, or what you've learned about the heritage of Donegal over this past few years.
Thank you very much, John. It was a very good presentation from Caroline. I come out to know about the first light, the feast on Intanfanai, and also the railway network, which one I saw today. It's quite astonishing that Donegal has a very strong rail network. I wouldn't know that before. Thank you very much. My journey started here in 2015 when I moved from Dublin to here, Donegal. And so far, I involved with too many people in here. And I can see a diverse community is growing up here. And Donegal is moving towards a diverse community. As John knows that we do always a language festival, language movement, which has happened always in Regional Cultural Center with collaboration with Donegal Intercultural Platform. So this could be a good story, like every people from different part of the world, and they live together here with respect and with compassion. So the intercultural could be the part of the history here, I do believe. And thanks again to give me the opportunity to come here and join with you guys. Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. And very true. Like I went to, I think the last time you had the Mother Tongue Fest, or the day, the International Day of Mother Tongues, and it was great to hear all those languages. And like we deal with on average 30 different nationalities in the volunteer center every year. Donegal is much more diverse than a lot of us outside, than a lot of us would think, and it's fantastic to see, and it's bringing, I suppose, a different mix to what's going on in the county. So yeah, that would be really interesting to get a picture of that and a little bit about the festival. And Irish was also spoken on the stage that day, so it tied in all of those languages that are heard in Donegal. Hannah, do you have anything for me? Hello, you're muted. I'll see, can I unmute you? No, I can only ask you to unmute.
Yeah. My husband is doing a big clear out here with having nothing else to do, and he keeps coming out with these pictures. When you saw the picture of the couple, where the man was sitting down and the woman was standing, and he says, "Oh, that's like Granda's picture." He when he got married, that the man sat down and the woman stood up, and. So yeah, he's finding a lot of stuff. He came on, well, he knew he had it, but he took it out to look at it again. The Bible, the family Bible, nice. And going back about 4 generations. And the head of the house wrote the name as children were born inside the cover. He wrote the day they were born and the name, So they have about 4, I think there's 4. His great grandfather started it. So and they write the names of the family, the children as they're born inside the Bible. So he has that now. So we better pass it on to some of our kids now. So yeah, there's a lot of.
That's amazing.
There's a hoard.
Fantastic to see.
You saw him there, Michal. I'm married to a hoarder, I'm afraid. And
I could
I could be in a museum now. You know, get more stuff out of this house to fill your museum. So I'll tell you.
Don't be throwing. I'm saying that's saying you don't, when you're clearing out, don't be throwing stuff away and burning stuff, which happens because we collect everything from up until the 2000s. Like amazing, like, you know, people think receipts and letters and postcards and, you know, even old magazines, things. Don't be burning stuff till you contact us. We'll take them all because we're continually collecting for the next generation.
It's hard to know what to do with the stuff, you know. When I was clearing out my own mother's from Dublin, and when I was clearing out her house in Dublin, I came on her father must have been a hoarder, and I came on a whole lot of little receipts for burials places in Glasnevin of his uncles and aunts that passed away as children, mostly as children. Childhood mortality was very high, but like this going back to 1850 and 1860 and every couple of years a child would die, and he kept all the little receipts. And these are my grandfather's uncles. They would have been his uncles, his mother's siblings. So I don't know what to do with them. I went to Glasnevin and asked them, you know, what do I do with this? So they looked up the graves, and the graves are still there, but there's no headstone on them or anything to say who was buried in them.
Can you give them to the National Archives?
Maybe.
Because they're paper and go to the National Archives. They'd be very interested in those.
Yeah. I was going to pass them on to a niece of mine who studied history.
Fantastic.
She might
keep them anyway. That's the main thing. Keep
holding them. They've lasted this long, so I won't be the one to dispose of them. So there's a lot of interesting stuff you can dig up, and the stories behind it. Then, you know, very. And
people have, like at home, you find people have so many. Remember the memorial cards from years ago.
Yeah.
You know, you have a whole collection of them. A whole every neighbor or every relative and things like that. Like some people have, maybe there might be a mass card or a memorial card, and maybe they had no family. Maybe their name has died out. Maybe you know that's they're very interesting, and the interesting what you read on them, what you find out on the memorial cards as well. Like that's right. We've a lot of wedding invitations. The mess I got invited.
This is my grandparents, you know, the wedding invitation, but that size, little wedding invitation card, is tiny little thing, you know. And the name of the family, and the day they were married. It's a lot.
Keeping your Valentine's cards, were you, and your love letters and all the rest? Was it? They all.
None of that. No.
None of that.
They weren't into that. No, I'm afraid. They just got married, and that's it.
That is Hannah, you know, the sort of things that are there, and it's that family history, and that went into the National Archive. It's in 10 generations time that somebody finds your name and does a search and rediscovers it. And it is, imagine what it's, you know, you're talking about your great granduncles, I think, you know, and their graves. Imagine in another 5 or 6 generations being able to go that far back and see that, and then maybe able to go to Glasnevin and actually go to the graves. It's just amazing, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I know, because unfortunately, that, you know, when the forecourt was burnt by whatever side, what do you call it? We lost centuries of material like that. So you're very lucky to have that, because and most people find in Donegal that they're trying to trace back the relatives. Like if you get back to the, you know, before the famine, you're doing pretty well. Unless you're pick a religion and everything, but you know, it's very, very difficult. It's not like, you know, the Americans come and assume you can go back centuries, like you can go back in Scotland and England. We unfortunately can't do that.
Unless you go to the parish, the parishes.
They're not even. Unfortunately, they're very hit and miss. They're not. I think it depended on the priests, and depending on maybe what religion they were, and depending on other circumstances or other things, that sometimes records weren't kept correctly at all even. And then sometimes you can find them back hundreds of years if you're very lucky. but
It's,
they're very-
yeah, depend on the priest.
yeah,
And
the
I-
priest, yeah.
Hannah, we're looking forward to stories from you and the hoarder.
Oh,
You know,
That's you, John, ticked off now. Who else? And
Okay.
Pat and who else? And Niall and
I'm looking
Rory.
around here. Marion Whelan, you look like you would have stories there now.
I don't know, we shall see.
even if Marion, have you photographs, photo albums in the house?
That I found was not she was not state registered. Her death was not state registered in 1922. So, but I have the card when they sent the little card saying she died.
But where were you looking, Marion, for her registration?
I want to like it about you talking about death and all that. This is
Yeah.
surprise. 1922, my great grandmother died, and I looked up the state registry. She's not registered as a state.
Is that an Irish? Is that an irishgenealogy.com? Were you looking there?
Oh, look there. It's not there.
No, because lot of see what people are finding is that just because it's not there doesn't mean it's not registered. It's just not scanned. It's not. There's gaps. There is not every single register and not every single page may have been scanned as yet, because I put up a thing there recently about the miracle of snowdrops in Glenties in 1930, and there was a name of a child in it that brought in the snowdrops, and then somebody was saying, oh well, I can't find this person, it's not, the person's not there, but they were looking on irishgenealogy.com, but I checked with the actual civil registration with themselves, and it's in their books, but it's not up online.
Right, because when you can find that much later,
Yeah, no, but I would check with the ring civil registration.
After so many years, yeah.
Sorry,
Because they had to be registered by law. Like there's no getting around it. Like you were fined hugely. Like it was a very very
That was fine somewhere.
Hopefully now, Marion, somebody isn't still collecting the pension on her. She's
I don't imagine they could assess you were doing it for, like, there's so much, there was about 40 years or something like that. I imagine it was because it's so long ago now, the coordination, I doubt if you would get away with
it. But if you have her details, you could ring up civil registration and give them the details, and they can actually check the actual physical registers for you. It's not.
Yeah, as you said, it must be a mess, because I mean, I can see all the other, so many other people in that time frame.
Yeah, but it's just there is gaps, and we know there's gaps, but it's just it's a continual new process of things being scanned, and not everything, there's gaps, and not everything has been sent in, or not, it's on the queue to be scanned, but it's not been loaded up yet. It's just it's for the whole country, you see, so up until 1922, I think.
I'll do that. I'll do that for you.
It solves the mystery.
That's it. There's other people who have their cameras off, and I'm not going to call on them. I went round the people that had their cameras on. So, but if there's anybody else has anything they want to share, you're unmute yourself and chat to us. Caroline, just while we're waiting for that to happen, could you tell me a very short version of the miracle of the snowdrops in Glenties?
Right, okay. Well, I came across this. I was looking for I was trawling different stuff when I was supposed to be doing other work. But anyway, so it was in January. I think it was January 14th to 20th in 1913. There's a lady. Oh gosh, I can't remember her surname now. Give birth to a little baby, and she was very, very ill, and she was obviously for death. And the lady was very religious. She had been saying a novena to the oh gosh, what is the name of the nun? Little flower. What do you call it?
Saint Therese.
That's it. Yes. So she already had been prior to that. She was very devout to her. Like, so she was very, very ill, and the doctor was called, and I think maybe last rites maybe were given, so she wasn't expected to live. But she had another little girl who's 4 years old. So anyway, the little girl came into the bedroom and presented to left with mommy 4 snowdrops, and nobody paid any attention to her, and they just were put into a vase beside the bed. And then a few hours later, they opened up with the most exquisite scent, and the mother revived and survived. But then they turned around and said to the little girl, they realized that they didn't have any snowdrops outside the house, like. So they said to the little 4-year-old, "Where did you get them?" And she said, "A lady came down from the sky and give them to me and told me my mommy would be well, you know, would be saved and things. So then she brought them in, and obviously the 4-year-old wouldn't be making up stories. And yeah, they had this most exquisite scent, and so she loved to tell the tale. And I think one of them was sent off to the convent over in France, and so that was the miracle in Glenties. There was a lady descended from the sky and give out what do you call it, 4 snowdrops that saved a mommy's life.
Very good. No, it's interesting, and that is the sort of thing that, you know, I don't know, maybe everybody else has heard of it, but I hadn't. And you know,
no, a lot of people hadn't
if
in
you're-
Glenties,
yeah,
like no.
that's it. If you're a schoolway in Glenties, you probably are aware of it, but we wouldn't necessarily be aware of it beyond that. No, I suppose, look, I suppose if there's anybody else has any other kind of things to come in on, come in. But really, I suppose what we'll do as next steps from here, Caroline, if it's okay with yourself, is we'll send everybody out the recording of today. We'll send you out the little submission form as well. But we're not, you know, as Caroline said, looking for an academic study. It's here's a picture of the bridge, and this is what I know about it, kind of thing. And you know, this is the story. Definitely for yourself up there, I would love to hear that mother tongue piece, and you know, a paragraph or two on the volunteering that you did over COVID, I think would be interesting, and some pictures.
And somebody just said, sorry, John, in Irish, yes, of course, always welcome. Yes, most definitely welcome. Yes, more than all different languages, more the merrier. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, no, it'd definitely be great to see stuff coming in Irish, to have that. You know, I see Maureen Iari on there as well. Maybe it was her that put in the message that around, you know, the island, stuff like that. You know, there's so much kind of lore attached to like Zagola and all the small islands, just to have snippets of that as well. And it is that opportunity, I suppose, to get information in that isn't necessarily in the public domain, and that it would be great to have recorded as part of the archive of the council. Equally, if other people who you're aware of who are interested or who have stories, give them the form. You know, they don't have to have signed up or attended this. We can give them the recording so they can find a little bit more, but no, share it with the world. We're looking for all sorts of everything.
I mean, miscellaneous, you know, they do that program, is it on RT1 Sunday, miscellaneous? So it's something, it's like, this is our miscellaneous, anything and everything that doesn't fit into normal history categories, like the weird and the wonderful. Anything,
Very
everything.
good. Very good.
Anything, everything. So we'd be delighted to get them, but unfortunately, as I said, we're under pressure with the funders, and we have to have a physical copy to get the funding drawn down and completed. But as I was saying, so it's not. That's why we give the word limit. It's not too big. It's not too much pressure. You don't have to do that many words, and photographs would be delightful with just a little caption on it, and make sure you have your contact details on it for us as well.
No, that's it. No, that's unless, do you have anything else, Caroline, or we're coming up to 12, so
I think we're all good, and thanks so much again for all listening, and share it far and wide, and I can't wait to see what comes in. This is my favorite part of seeing what people write to us and what people tell us, and I love learning something I didn't know about our county or your local heritage or your family heritage. That's it. Take this opportunity to be put into print and become part of our county's heritage.
No,
very good.
Definitely. Okay.
Lovely.
Folks, thank you very much. And it's like the start of the Antiques Roadshow. We don't know where it's going to end up, but interesting regardless, you know. So thank you very much. And Caroline, thank you. And what we will probably do is pull you back for another session as we go on, and maybe discuss some of the stories and get people to put a bit of flavor to it and tell us the gossip piece that we couldn't publish. Have that in there. So no, look, thank you very much. And look, we look forward to the submissions. We'll get an email out to you at some point this week or early next week, but be thinking about it. It's, you know, snap the picture, little narrative to go with it, who's in it, what it's about, and get it into us. All right, good to meet you, Mike. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.